Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. So, about 3 weeks ago, my sister in law knocked on my door saying she needed a place to stay for a few days because her landlord is giving her a lot of trouble and she refuses to pay him rent unless he gets the repairs done that she applied for months ago. I asked her why she didn't just file a complaint against him, but she said it's a hassle to go through that whole thing and she'd rather avoid wasting any more time on that shitty place and its owner. I reminded her how the market is inflating day by day, and she probably wouldn't find a place in a couple of days, so her best option is to solve the matter, but she assured me she already has a place in mind and is waiting on signing the lease, which wouldn't take more than a couple of days. So, on that note, I let her stay with us. After all, it's not like she's a total stranger. She's family, and with her over at the house, I might get to relax a little. But a few days later, when I asked her what's the status of her new place, she just said the paperwork is coming along and would take only a few more days. The problem with her staying for more than a week at our place was our 2-year-old baby, who is already too much for me to take care of. With my sister in law also living in the house, it's a chaos and honestly, far more work than I'd ever take on. She babysits for me sometimes, but compared to the mess she leaves after herself, it's not worth it. But I didn't have any other choice but to wait a few more days. I couldn't possibly ask her to leave the house when I agreed to let her stay with us. So a few more days went by, and I was getting restless and irritated. The extra work of making lunch and dinner while also cleaning after her was too much. I did tell her to keep her things in the guest room and to make sure she doesn't leave a mess, but there were small habits that were getting to me. She'd keep a condensing cup directly over wood or sofa, which usually leaves a stain that's hard to clean. She has a habit of leaving the washroom door open or not airing it out. These things annoyed me, and finally, on her 10th day of living with us, I asked her how much longer she will need to stay with us. This time, she didn't even pretend that she needed more time. She directly told me that she's rethinking her decision and is holding on signing the lease. I was shocked to hear that and asked her the reasons for doing that. And she told me that the last dozen or so days of living with us made her realize that she can just pay the rent here and stay in the guest room. It'll be easier for all of us because she could help me by babysitting the baby while I can make sure she's well fed. She said that it's not a bad opportunity, but I lost my mind at that. I already had my hands full with my freelance job as a developer and a baby that needs constant care. When I told her so, she started thinking about something and then told me I should get rid of the baby as that's a better option for both of us, and he's not even mine. I was appalled to hear that. Our son may be adopted, but there's no way I would ever think of him as an outsider. I was incredibly offended by her words, and we started arguing back and forth. Finally, I told her that she may be my husband's dear little sister, but there's no way I'm letting her stay in my house for another second. So I went to her room and packed her bags for her. I threw her stuff out along with her. But before she left, she told me I should rethink my actions and maybe think about getting a DNA test. She said maybe there are things I'd be grateful to her for. That didn't make any sense because obviously my son wouldn't match with us, seeing how he was adopted. But for the next few days, I was thinking about her words over and over. She is rude and narcissistic, but not stupid. So it didn't make any sense for her to say that unless there was something she knew. In the end, I decided to take a DNA test just for my mental peace. I didn't tell my husband because it honestly seemed so ridiculous that he'd just laugh at it. I collected hair samples from all of us and went myself to get the DNA test. The hospital took 5 days to get back to us, and when I saw the reports, my whole world stopped moving. I couldn't understand how my husband could be the real father of my son. I wasn't able to get pregnant because of my extreme PCOS case, and it took us 6 months to even be approved for adoption. When we finally adopted, both of us were beyond happy. We went through the whole process together, so how could the reports be true? In the end, I decided to directly talk to my husband. I was so sure that he'd tell me it's ridiculous and we could retake this whole thing just to prove the report was wrong. But after I told him how I took a DNA test and the reports were wrong, his expression told me everything I needed to know. I stopped breathing for a second there. I asked him why it says that he's the biological father of our son, and oh God. He told me that the woman I was so grateful to for letting us adopt her unborn son was actually his ex, and they hooked up when they met at their high school reunion party. They were both completely wasted, and she ended up being pregnant. Because he knew that I couldn't really have children, he offered to adopt his ex's child and convinced me. The thought of his not only cheating on me, but me raising his ex's child physically revolted me. I felt like I'd done something disgusting. I couldn't even begin to process the fact that he cheated on me because I was overwhelmed with knowing my son, who I loved so much, isn't who I thought he was. So I packed my bags, and now I'm living with a friend of mine. She knows my situation and has offered me all the time I need to process it. And now that a few days have passed by, I can't even think of that little boy as my son. Every time I think about him, all that comes to my mind is how my husband cheated on me. And I don't want out of this whole situation. Does it make me an a-hole if I don't want either of them in my life anymore? Would walking away be a shitty move? I finally told my mom about this situation, and she counseled me to not blame the child, but the adults who put me through it all. It wasn't his fault that he was born to my husband's ex and adopted by me. He's just a baby, and if I need to take revenge, then I should do so with my husband. But it wasn't enough to calm my mind. So many thoughts were racing through my brain that I don't know how I wasn't getting dizzy by it all. I was torn between loving this kid for 2 years of my life and knowing that he's the result of my husband's affair. I haven't seen him since I left the house after my fight with my husband, and I have no idea how I'll react when I'll see him again. But I also realized that there was no point in avoiding reality. So finally, I went back home yesterday. And you cannot even begin to comprehend the relief I felt after seeing my son. Before coming home, I was angry to the point where if I saw my husband, I would have hit him in the face. And the thoughts of not being able to love my son or raise him without being biased was haunting me. But seeing him, every thought went out the window, and all I could remember was even if someone else gave birth to him, I'm the one who raised him, and no matter where he came from, I adopted him because I wanted to be a mother. So nothing should change that fundamental fact. And once I made that decision, it was pretty clear that there is no way I'm staying in my marriage. So I kicked my husband out of the house after going back there. Now I just need to figure out how I can divorce my husband without losing custody. I've been talking to my lawyer, and he informed me that there's no law in America, let alone Texas, that would allow me to have sole custody of my son when I'm not the biological parent in the relationship. He also told me that my freelance work might help me make over $60,000 a year, but it's not a stable income source, and the court would never consider my background as strong enough to raise a child. So it was all around a losing case for me. He said that the best he could do is get me shared custody or visitation rights because I was one of the adopting parents, and have been in the child's life for over 2 years. And even that would depend on appealing to the ethical instead of the legal side of the system. So, yeah, life is not really going as planned. First, I was worried if I'd even be able to raise this child because I despised my husband for cheating on me. And now it feels like I'm being punished for the thoughts I had while I was processing the truth. At this point, my best option seems to be talking to my husband and convincing him to let me have the parental rights. But I doubt he'll listen to anything I have to say when I kicked him out so aggressively and blocked him from everywhere. My divorce was finalized yesterday, and the whole thing was as ugly as it could get. When I talked to my husband, he told me that if I want to have a divorce, then there's no way he's letting me have the kid, and true to his words, he pushed for sole custody. And even though my lawyer tried everything we had, the judge ruled against me. He said it clearly that as I'm not the biological parent of the kid, I have no parental rights over any decisions. Even the adoption rights were disregarded in the end, and I ended up with 70% of our assets because my husband lied to me, and it was compensation for those 2 years. I don't know whether to be happy or sad about getting the house and the money. Well, I'm definitely going to sell the house because every corner reminds me of past memories, and I'm better off without them. I'm a mess right now, and if it wasn't for my mom, I don't think I could get through the current time in my life. NTA, you're definitely not the a-hole. Your husband lied about cheating on you and kept you in the dark about the kid. Even if you chose to walk away, you wouldn't be the a-hole here. NTA, it's completely your choice now whether you choose to be that kid's mom or not. You have no responsibility towards him other than that you've been raising him for about 2 years now, and he might be emotionally attached to you. Do what's best for you and don't think about that cheating bastard or his ex. My ex hasn't seen the kids in years. He talks to them once and a while on the phone. We have been divorced for 10 years. He hasn't seen them other than at my daughter's plays in almost 4 years by his own choice. My oldest, Dee Dee, 16, is his obvious favorite. He talks to her all the time. He sends her gifts on her birthday and goes to her plays. He just favors her. Ask any of the three kids and they will tell you she is the favorite. Hell, she will tell you she is his favorite and hates her brother. Yet even she will say he sucks as a dad and has him listed as went for milk in her phone. He doesn't talk to my son, 15, if he can avoid it. He has never liked my son much and forgets his birthday and doesn't go to his activities that my son invites him to. My son has given up and just goes about his life. If he needs a man, he will go to grandpa or uncle or even my boyfriend. He will flat out say his dad sucks and that dad hates him. He won't call him or tell him anything anymore since he missed something important to him last year. I think that was the final straw. He makes offhand comments about how bad his dad is randomly. I think it's his way of coping. My youngest, 13, will talk to him sometimes, but calls him crusty musty. But I know it hurts her and she will cry that she wishes her dad loved her. He doesn't show up for her activities either. She gave up inviting him a couple of years ago. She does the same thing as my son and makes offhand comments about how much her dad sucks. She is SN, so her comments about her dad are more silly, like calling him crusty musty, a monkey butt, or smelly. I allow them to say what they want about him. I don't talk to him or about him at all. Well, my mom heard something my son said about his dad not loving him and how much he sucks. My son had attempted to call his dad and ask him about something, and his dad told him he was too tired to talk to him. So son was mad because he actually bothered to call and was still pushed off. My mom thinks I should put a stop to these comments. I say they are teens and know how their dad is. My ex tested me a few times to tell me that I need to tell the kids to respect him. I just ignored him. I don't think it's hurting anyone, and it's a way to get their feelings out. AITA for allowing the kids to say what they want about their dad, even to his face. NTA, children are people who are allowed to have and voice opinions. However, have you considered therapy for the kids? Abandonment from a parent is hard, and it never hurts to develop healthy coping skills while young. NTA, the fact that your daughter calls him went for milk says everything and is also frankly hilarious. You would be doing your children a disservice to treat them like idiots and try to discuss any redeeming features of their deadbeat dad. They know the situation and the truth. Seems like it's others that are struggling with it. NTA, first of all, this is the bed your ex made for himself. If he doesn't like it, he knows what he can do to fix his relationship with the kids. Second, you aren't encouraging the kids, you simply aren't putting a stop to it. And allowing them to vent their frustrations like this is actually good for them. I was in a similar situation, except my father became estranged when I was an adult. So I know it sucks, and it really does help to be able to express your feelings about your absent parent. Your mother really needs to stay out of the whole situation, and your ex needs to learn that respect is a two-way street. I, 27, have three siblings, a stepbrother, 29, and two half sisters, Celine, 16, 10. My mom died when I was 7. It was really hard for me, especially when dad started dating my stepmom a year later. I'll admit, I was an a-hole to her, but I really miss my mom. Now I'm really close with my stepmom and get along okay with my stepbrother. I've always been close to my sisters. Celine and I are extremely close and basically best friends. She confides in me more than her mom. I do think she looks up to me, and I definitely try to be a good older sister, though Dad jokes that I'm a bad influence. Last weekend, while I was visiting, they were doing a big cleanup. I ended up kind of snooping through Dad's old cabinet and found old photo albums. I found a few that had photos of me when I was little and my mom. I got distracted and was just looking at the old photos instead of cleaning, and Celine got curious. She asked about it, and I mentioned about it being photos of my mom. She asked me about her, and we talked about it, though I was a little awkward. I basically said what I remember of her, how it hurt when I lost her, and love, just a few things about her. While I was happy to answer a few questions, I don't really like talking about mom, so I did try to wrap the conversation up. But then Celine asked me if I'd rather my parents stay together, that dad never got with her mom. I was honest and told her that while I did love my stepmom, it wasn't the same. That I wish I could have mom in my life, and how different things would be, just like how Celine wouldn't want to lose my stepmom. For some reason, that really upset her, and she basically left crying. I tried to talk to her after, but she refuses to talk to me. Dad thinks I should apologize and that I was too honest, even if I meant well, but I don't think I said anything wrong. He told me that she loves me, so saying what I did hurts, even if I didn't mean it that way. But I didn't say anything about her. She's my sister. I love her. I honestly don't know why she's upset about this. My stepbrother, I'm being obvious as usual, admittedly, I can sometimes be thoughtless, but I actually don't get it here. But refuses to actually explain what I said wrong. My stepmom is the only one who seems to understand me here, though she suggested I just give Celine some time to calm down. I just don't understand what's going on, or if I said something that bad. NTA, don't ask questions if you are not going to like the answers. Look, she basically asked if you would rather have your mom alive versus current situation. Well, duh. What did she think you were going to say? Yes, that would have meant she would not have been born, but guess what? It was a hypothetical question, not like you can go all Avengers Endgame and rewrite history. NaH. When someone gives you a question you're uncomfortable answering, don't want to hurt her feelings. Sometimes the best way to answer is to not accept the premise of the question. Prefer dad never get together with her mom. One way to sidestep that would be to say, well, of course I miss my mom, but if dad and stepmom didn't get together, I wouldn't have you in my life. Followed by a hug. That's all she wants to hear, anyways. I'm glad you're good with your stepmom. It's refreshing to read on here. NaH. I have a 16-year-old girl, and something I say one day will get a laugh, but will cause her to burst into tears another day. She's sensitive and took it to mean you prefer your mom to her. Even if true, still doesn't make you an AH. You can talk to her when she's calmed down. My son often says he wishes his dad and I were still together. He loves his stepmom, so he doesn't want her gone, but I still think it hurts her when he says